From the Islamist perspective, the secular progressive is a useful idiot.
Which other place in the Middle East do you think that as a queer person you would have complete and utter liberation?
Lebanon, Syria, Yemen.
I keep getting comments that if I was in Gaza, I would be killed for being queer. And first off, there are queer people in Gaza, and they're being killed for being Palestinian.
As a gay man, I would be punished and or put in prison or killed if I were openly gay in Palestine. How do you react to that?
I didn't know that. I came with Queers for Palestine. I'm a trans, non-binary person, queer liberation, queer people live in Palestine.
Is being gay okay here? No, and we don't have it. You don't have gay people. Got it.
No.
What should be done to gay people? الحكم للي بده يمشي في هاي الطريق ويمشي في هاي الطريق يطبق حكم الإسلام عليه.
Once the West is destroyed, the Islamofascists can easily just take that rainbow person or woke whoever and throw them off a building.
قدوم تنظيم داعش كان الكارثة الكبرى للمسلمين ونقطة التحول حتى بطرق وأساليب القتل. فبلشوا يجيبوا الشباب اللي بيشكوا انهم مثليين بعد ما يعذبوهم ويخلوهم يعترفوا يرموهم من على أسطح الأبنية.
That secular progressive is their access point and their legitimization point into our political system. The strength of the West will be dissipated and no one will be left to save them. The secular progressive is a tragic figure because they are destined to lose.
Radicalization doesn't start with bombs. It starts with sermons. Culture, networks, silence. And New York has been silent too long.
As a well-educated person and traveled the world and even spent some time in Qatar, what is your opinion about, is this actually a threat or is this just an idea what right-wing people and right-wing extremist races create this Islamophobia scheme to promote more hate?
Even the word Islamophobia is just a word meant to protect terrorists.
Islamophobia is very different from Islamophobia. Islam is a religion, is an ideology. They should be allowed to talk about that and criticize that.
What actually has happened, and perhaps even by design, there's been this, everybody's attacking the Muslims and it's not this or that. And not that I'm attacking Muslims as individuals. I am indeed attacking the religion. I believe the religion is from the pits of hell, if you want me to be honest with you.
The concept of Islamophobia, it wasn't created by Muslim people, actually. It was created by the left, and it's wielded as a weapon. They want Christians and Muslims to hate each other. I will never hate anybody. And I am certainly not going to hate people because of what they believe. This is not about demonizing anyone. But there is a political element within Islam that seeks a completely Islamic world. And they talk about returning the world where the Ummah, the Islamic people, rule and Sharia, which they see as God's law, is everywhere.
I study this. This is my Quran. And as I was reading it, this is like translated in English. I noticed discrepancies between what is translated here to English. I know the Arabic word is qatalu, which means kill. In the English version it says strive hard. They tried their best to water down for a Western audience who's reading this in English.
This is not the belief of every Muslim person out there, but it is an entirely well-funded, organized, systematic agenda within Islam to use Islam, and the ordinary people who don't want that, they're a cover for this more sinister operation of unrestricted warfare, which was formalized publicly by 2 Chinese colonels in 1999. That doctrine is to take the US without firing a shot. Well, that doctrine applies not just to Marxists and communists, it also applies to Islamists. And in fact, when you look at it, the Islamists and the left and the Marxists and then these global institutions, they all work together.
When I was an extremist, Islamist, fundamentalist, I would only vote left.
Why is that?
I saw them as very stupid. Islamic extremists are against gays and homosexuals and transgenders, but they want the left to go and get busy with that. They want them, go speak about the climate, go speak about abortion, go kill yourselves, go do that. And Allah, she's fighting for abortion rights and all the other, my body, my choice. Yes, go do that, go do it. But would she have an abortion? Never. Never. Would she kill a Muslim in her stomach? Never.
The ideas of Islam are fundamentally antithetical to the most atomic concepts of our political tradition, of liberalism, of freedom. They don't really care about country. They just care about the two fundamental countries are the world that has submitted to Islam and those that haven't. And that war has been going on 1,400 years, and immigration is the primary weapon.
Now, when you have mass migration of Muslim populations who, as a body, understand that you can work to take over local city councils and local offices, and you can dominate on a small political ground in order to further a larger goal.
May end up with about 50 members of Congress in the next 6 years. That's really the essence of dismantling the system of injustice, is to replace it with the people who represent the Prophet ﷺ.
For many Muslim people, the mosque is just a place they go to worship. But for these people, the mosques are command and control nodes. They're operational bases.
In 2015, I could hear the call to prayer coming from the mosque behind my house. Like, that was already happening 10 years ago, and that's just getting worse. Soon, we will not be a Christian majority country anymore if we have this type of immigration continuing to happen to our nations. That is devastating. That means the end of Western civilization.
You don't have to look very far to hear from people who say over and over again, we are doing this because we want Sharia law to be all across the world.
I will not denounce Sharia law, and I endorse globalization of intifada.
If you think this is just about Mamdani, it's not. When Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the former head of ISIS, the Islamic State, when he was in Camp Bucca in Iraq and he was released, on his way out the door, he said to one of the guards, "I'll see you in New York." So New York was always part of the plan. And before that happened, who else talked about New York? It was Nazis in the Nuremberg trials. So you see how these things run throughout history.
September 11th, 2001 should have been the absolute signal that the 21st century will be a clash of civilizations. But we're 24 years on, and they said never forget. Well, I think a good portion of people forgot. Not only did they forget, they were never here. The voters that put Mamdani over the top were either not alive for 9/11 or not living in the city for it.
A 9/11 happened, and yet here we are, a Muslim mayor who is advocating for globalizing the Intifada, to defund the police, to make crimes lesser than they really are. And what does that mean? Just in the past few years through Eric Adams and Cuomo, we saw that crime expanded. People were getting stabbed in the subways, criminals were let out even after attempted murders, and this is even so much more so with someone like Mamdani who says such things about how he wants crime to be dealt with. So it tells you a lot about what this city has become, how they've been able to desensitize our city into allowing this type of talk. It's quite amazing to see that we can actually forget 9/11, that we've forgotten actually.
It's just staggering to me that the Jewish people, who are in many ways the backbone of New York, and certainly in terms of capital and business and industry and everything else, will go to the polls and vote for that man, a candidate who hates Israel and who's so committed to the annihilation of that nation. I don't understand it at all.
Just yes or no, do you believe in a Jewish state of Israel?
I believe Israel has the right to exist.
Not as a Jewish state?
As a state with equal rights.
You know what? There's just as much Islamophobia as there is anti-Semitism. And I think they're both wrong and horrible.
I think Mamdani is a good man, a good citizen who cares about America, who cares about American people.
When he comes into office to New York, that it will have the same future like London under Sadiq Khan?
That's the whole point. That's the whole point. And people are kidding themselves if they think it will end any differently. If you go back to Muhammad, the whole plan was you emigrate, you get up to 10%, you're a good neighbor and all this stuff. At a certain point, you start raping women. Rape is the primary weapon of control. They rape your women, and because you do nothing, or you're humiliated, or you can't protect your women, they keep going until you submit. And they've been following that program for 1,400 years, and now they're facing Europe, and Europe is so out of touch with its most basic principles that they're not resisting it. When I lived in Cambridge, there were 8,000 rapes a year in Britain. Now there's 70,000. It's not the Mormon missionaries. And yet they play all these games with the stats so they can say, well, we're not exactly sure. They know where it's coming from.
What New York is experiencing today, London lived through 10 years ago. In episode 2, I traveled to London to meet survivors, whistleblowers, soldiers, politicians, and former believers to show America its own future unless it wakes up now. London is the warning, and America is next, unless the truth is told.